Hear me now, Coach Sherry. So, thank you. I didn't even notice that my circle wasn't circling. And so, let me start my intro over again since I've been sitting here in silence for about 2 minutes. Um, but my laptop automatically connected to my Bluetooth headset, which is like on the other side of the room in my work bag because I'm just getting home from work. So, I just, tried to quick pull everything out so I could get set up. But I'm going to go back to my intro then and say, hey there, YouTube, slasher chicks and slasher dudes. My name is Alicia. This is Slasher Chick TV, where we love to talk about growth mindset and negotiation strategies. So you never have to choose between this or that. You can always say yes to this/that. And with that in mind, yes, I said yes to showing up today as a week 3 of my consecutive live streams. And what I was just joking about to Coach Sherry as I realized I was on mute, I was talking about you and how you'll have the family joke when you don't necessarily understand exactly how something works to say it's science. Well, I have this thing with Mercury retrograde, which I take it with a grain of salt, but I do like to joke about it that when things are going sour and like tech isn't working, etc., I'm like, oh, blame it on Mercury retrograde. It even came up again today where like my boss was trying to show something on her phone and like the phone just refused to show it. Like it was just doing everything but what she wanted it to. And I was like, oh, don't worry, it'll work again on the 25th. Like, um, so now, if you're not familiar with Mercury retrograde, I'll give you a quick update for those who may not have heard of it before. Let's see. Um, but essentially, Mercury retrograde is a point in time in which it will appear that Mercury is spinning backwards. So, yeah, there are 3 to 4 times a year where the planet Mercury appears to be traveling backwards across the sky. That's not what's actually happening, is my understanding. I forgot how they described it. Yeah, here it goes. This, of course, is an illusion caused by the position of Earth in relation to that planet at the time. So it looks like a retrograde and looks like it's moving backwards, but it's not really. And so these are the few times a year that it happens. And right now we're in the April 1st through April 24th. It'll end soon, etc. But some of the things that are known to happen during Mercury retrograde, let's see if it names it here. Yeah, they say this is a good time to reflect. But the things that the stereotype says, or the old wives' tale, or whatever superstition calls it about Mercury retrograde, is like technology is not going to work. Like all kinds of tech is going to act up. You're going to have like calendaring and scheduling issues. Like it's going to be a lot of miscommunication, like misfires, missignals. Like maybe I said meet at 11, you thought 11 a.m., I thought 11 p.m., and we both still missed it. It's like stuff like that. And then one of the things they also name is like don't get into any long-term agreements during Mercury retrograde, specifically because allegedly the time is prone to miscommunication. So if you like sign a contract or an agreement during that time, it's like more likely that you will have problems with that contract or agreement. Okay, now this is funny. I didn't even realize this when I was preparing for this. But as I was looking now for examples, I just found this article, which is hilarious to me. But further confirmation that I am not alone in this. And that the next article I found here. Yes, we are in that time now, Coach Sherry, until April. Oh, today's the last day. Is tomorrow the 25th? Tomorrow's the 25th. So officially, tomorrow ends Mercury retrograde. Or, yeah, according to Forbes, that's the part that's hilarious to me. I'm like, really? Even Forbes magazine is writing about Mercury retrograde? But according to the article, yes, Mercury retrograde ends on April 24th. Um, and so allegedly things should be back to normal. But you'll see, there's no doubt. Google reports that most searches, should I blank during Mercury retrograde? Like, should I make decisions, buy things, like those kinds of things. But it ends tomorrow. So officially tomorrow, it ends tonight. And so, yeah, now allegedly everything goes back to back to normal tomorrow. But I had a video that I apparently did when I was started doing my daily vlogs, and I had a video I did about Mercury retrograde, and I don't know what I was blaming Mercury retrograde about during said video or what. But I thought, okay, well, that will be one of my things I go look at during one of my lives, is to see what was I talking about there about Mercury retrograde. Okay. So let's take a look back here and see. First we have to get okay. This is like problem number one already. I don't know. I think you said this, Coach Cherry, that you don't necessarily go back and look at other things. It usually lasts like 3 to 4 weeks. So this was April 1st through April 24th was this uh current Mercury retrograde, and then I think the next one is in August. But it's like four times a year. Now, I think you had said this, Coach Cherry, that you don't go back and watch your old stuff. And I haven't really. It's only as a result of this that I had started going back. So I just want to see, what was I talking about in this Mercury retrograde vlog? Yeah, it's basically every quarter. Because yeah, there was one in Q1, and I think that was in January. So yeah, it's every quarter. Um Now, one of the things I feel like that I like about having the YouTube is being able to go back and see my old stuff, even though I don't go back and look at it, if that makes sense. But with the vlogging, it's like, oh, you get to go back and capture a point in life, like where you were at a point in time. But like right now, I'm super nervous to click on this. I don't, because first of all right, I'm just going to look at this without judgment. I'm going to try that. It's going to be difficult, but I'm going to try it without judgment. Slasher dudes, this is another. All right. So problem number one is this thing already has the nerve to be playing in my audio on the headset I was talking about. It immediately connected to the headset. Is my audio even still on in here? Can you still hear me? Okay, good. It is still on. There we go. All right. Now that I know my audio is back on, let's see what I was talking about when I was trying to survive Mercury retrograde 5 years ago. This is, oh gosh. Another installment for my 21-day wake up challenge. And if you watched any of the videos before, you know I have failed at doing daily vlogs. So this is a not so daily vlog, but now I just want to name, I didn't vlog the 21 days, but I definitely still woke up at 5:30 for 21 days, because that's just like my wake up time. I'm at a point now where I'd like to start waking up even earlier, maybe 5 a.m. But when I did this vlog, it was also because this was like the point in my life where I had just like solidified that 5:30 wake up time, where it was now natural And my body was going to do it automatically, whether I tried to or not. I have been pretty successful at waking up at 5:30 or earlier every day for the last 18 days. Only 3 days left to go for my challenge, but quite a few more videos because I committed to doing 21. I think I might have to just make a failure video and commit to that. I don't know. I need to think about that. But I think this is video like number 10, which would leave me with like 11 videos left. So I have to think about how I'm going to do that. But at any rate, I did actually do a failure video after that. And it was about like failing forward, just like keep failing until you figure it out. This particular video was just about one of the things I've been experiencing lately, and maybe some of you have too, about Mercury being retrograde. And I get it. It's not a real thing. It's just an optical illusion that gives the appearance that Mercury is rotating now in a different direction. But there's a lot of things that they say you probably shouldn't do during that time, and that people freak out about it. Even the New York Times is talking about this. So it's obviously something that now in current society is on a lot of people's mind. If you've never heard the phrase Mercury's retrograde or Mercury's in retrograde, then let me explain. You may have seen memes implying that Mercury's backwards towards the sky, and plenty of times people have used this as a convenient scapegoat, but it does seem today that things just go kind of wonky during this time. So during the time that Mercury's retrograde, you can expect technology, communication, travel, logic, all of those things to appear to not be working correctly. And so there are some tips and tricks that people recommend that you either do or don't do during that time. For example, it's recommended that you do not sign any contracts during that time. It's likely that you are going to miss appointments and be late to appointments. It's also expected that your technology is going to mess up, or new technology. I'm actually kind of proud of my edit right here. This is why I enjoy going back, Coach Sherry. I like this. Won't work. So basically, if you could just stop time while Mercury's in retrograde, that's preferred. So I'd gone to one of my favorite places, which is Five Below, and it was a place where I was hoping to get some more like. Let me just also name 5 years later, I still love Five Below. I love Five Below so much. I had to put it on my don't buy it girl list for my no spend month, because I will go in Five Below like, it's just like the dollar store. And next thing, $100 and something later, I've come out with a bunch of stuff I don't even need. Like equipment, and I say that in quotes because it's not the most the greatest quality. It's certainly not the most expensive equipment, but my goal with starting this channel was to create the best production quality I could with what I had available now, and that I would continue to upgrade over time. And so one of the things I got was this hands-free neck mount that is meant for like watching TV or something, I'm sorry, not TV, obviously, but you know what I mean. At any rate, I want to know if this is going to be useful to maybe go live and be able to watch the chat while I'm live on a different device. I don't know. I'm figuring it all out, but I was just hoping that I would be able to get some more tools. And I picked up a lot of great things. So I also picked up this undated planner so that I could put all of my video ideas and my production schedule in more of an analog format for every month, and then I was gonna translate it to something else that would send me reminders, etc. But all of that to say, I bought all of these things that I really liked at Five Below that were gonna help me with my YouTube channel, and then I left the entire bag at the store, the entire bag and the receipt in the bag. And luckily, a good Samaritan and customer turned the bag in to the manager, and I was able to go retrieve it a couple of days later because the store happened to be a whole 45 minutes away from me when I happened to be with family in Jersey. That sounds like a very Mercury retrograde thing to happen. Now, I do still have that thing that I bought. It's not very good. It was not good for what it said it was for, about putting it around your neck and watching stuff on your phone. No bueno for that. But it does actually work good sometimes as a tripod in weird spots. So, hey Marlene, I left the bag, Coach Sherry, because it was Mercury retrograde. So that's not the only thing that's happened to me lately, though, with this whole Mercury retrograde thing. I have been just losing stuff left and right. It's like every time I use my phone, the next thing I know, I can't find it. I'm surprised I'm not looking for my phone right now. If I wasn't recording on it, I probably would be. So I am looking forward to when Mercury is no longer retrograde. And yes, I recognize it's likely an illusion, but hell, so is time. Get it? It's not really a real thing. It's just okay. outtakes.
An optical illusion that gives the appearance that Mercury, it's just an wait, is this one? Okay.
You will end up needing dentures.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me in watching that again. I enjoyed that so much. So I told you before I clicked on it, like I co-chair, I didn't know what I was going to be saying in there, but I'm glad to know, one, I'm consistent. I didn't say anything different now than what I believe. Doesn't mean I didn't grow, but it's consistent. Two, the other thing I got out of it was I do really, y'all, I really enjoy a good edit. Like, I do really like editing ultimately. Now, how many views did this video get, Coach Sherry? Let me see. That video got 146 views. Probably, I think that was one of my better ones because as far as content, still to this day, people seem to love anything that's about super early mornings. Like for some reason, and I think maybe that's because people also want to like get to, have early mornings or see why other people do it. I don't know. But if you've got a 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. type thing in your video, I feel like more people watch that. Me, as someone who already gets up at this time and has my own morning routine, I still consume other people's 5 a.m., 5:30 routine or 4 a.m. routine content. I still do. So I don't know. But if nothing else, it was encouraging because going back and looking at my video, I thought it was pretty good. I thought I did a good job. So I was like, oh man, Alicia, you're actually not bad at this. You should keep it up. So see, Marlene, I'm not surprised you get up at 5 a.m. because you seem to manage to also get a lot done in the day. But the main reason why I get up so early is because, and maybe this is, similar, I need that time with me. It is completely uninterrupted time with myself to, commune with God. It's before anybody else is asking anything of you. And so I use it to prep myself for everything that's to come. So yeah, I don't always, sometimes my exercise is just like stretching. This is one of the things I want to do a video about because the way I started my morning routine is, I don't know if y'all may have heard of Miracle Mornings, and they have a acronym for those that I forgot what it is because I adapted it for my own. But it's a book, called The Miracle Morning. Oh, Savers, that's their acronym. And I need to write this down so I can tell you what it's about. So the Savers acronym is meant to, like, you spend the morning. Ooh, I would love to be able to watch the sunrise every day, especially from like your location. In such a beautiful place. Now, but yeah, that was recorded 5 years ago, Coach Jay, in 2019. But the Savers, morning routine is like silence, affirmation, vision, exercise, reading, and I forgot what the last S is for. But that is based on a book by, his name is Hal Herod, and the book, wait, what is this link? Yeah, okay. And this is where the book is for Savers, for the Savers format. But it didn't, immediately appeal to me. And when I started doing this particular morning routine, it was because I wanted to make sure, my morning was about mindset and then I set myself up for success for the day. But I was also at the time experiencing a lot of imposter syndrome. And the thing I remember I had said to myself was like, oh, this reminds me, Coach Sherry, because it's an answer to something you were talking about when you were going through your analytics about and the thing came up about the two wolves. And I meant to tell you this because the two wolves is essentially about the parable. I guess you would call it a parable. About, here we go. I'm going to read this one as an example. Yeah, 9 minutes from the beach. I'm there every day. Because every day. I find I'm not going to see the sunrise at the beach. I'm going to see the sunset at the beach every day. One way or another, me, sun, and water, we're going to be together. But the two wolves, it's an old Cherokee parable. An old grandfather is teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It's a terrible fight, and it is between two wolves. One is evil. He is angry, envious, sorrowful, regretful, greedy, arrogant, full of self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, ego. He continued. The other wolf is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. And the same fight is going on inside you and inside every person too. And the grandson thought about it for a minute, and then he asked the grandfather, well, grandfather, which wolf will win? And the grandfather simply replies, the one that you feed. And so when you were searching through your analytics and something was coming up about the two wolves, and you were saying, I'm not even familiar with that story. It's like, what's that about? That's what that was referencing. Now, I don't know what videos the two wolves are happening that then gets people referred to your channel, but I'm almost certain it was talking about that story. And so what reminded me about that is at the time when I had discovered Miracle Mornings, I was having, that does sound like conversations with your dad, and maybe kind of what also bring people to you. How you got that, search. But I was struggling with a lot of imposter syndrome, and I remember thinking, and I had like the thought like I could, lean into it and like fully embrace it. Like I can become the thing that I'm feeling an imposter about, just become the thing. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, like, girl, if you really had like all of that confidence behind the actual skills, you would be a monster. And that's when I decided on my monster morning routine. So my version of Savers, I did that. Mine starts with meditation, organized or like clean. That's what my O stands for. Notes. So either I'm writing things about the day or I'm journaling. Well, the notes are really more like writing things about the day or affirmations, because the S is for scripting, and that's when I'm either journaling or talking about like the day. I forgot what my T is for. I have a whole checklist. And then my E is for exercise, and what Marlene reminded me, and that I can't always like fully exercise, so I will try to use that time for stretch. And then the R is for reading, and so I try to read at least 10 minutes each morning, but that includes audio books. And I think you would probably like that one, the Miracle Morning. But that is now my morning routine, and so I get up at the 5:30, so I have time to spend at least an hour to an hour and a half on my morning routine with me by myself. So, Coach Sherry, I love that. Love hearing that you had a meeting about these 4 Ps. And I think I had mentioned, if I didn't, I'm just going to say it now. So, I said that's all prep, but worst case scenario, if you don't have any of that stuff just done before, you can align on the 4 Ps together of like, okay, I had to quick call this meeting, and here's why. The people that are in here are these roles. This is the purpose. this is the product outcome. Like by the end of this meeting, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And here's my aligned process. Like, and then once we all agreed upon that, we got the 4 Ps. We can go. But if any of those aren't answered, oh, somebody needs to do something else before we have this meeting. So I do want to make sure I say that. It's not to say that you can't move forward. You can move forward. We just got to do that while we're here so that we're all aligned. But Marlene, on my, I guess it was last night. I don't know, because all the days run together at this point when you at when you're in the 20s. But one of the things I was talking about, it was yesterday, because I left my work meetings yesterday feeling all energized about our meetings, and I was sharing about the 4 Ps of good meetings, and I shared this the notes we have on a public card, and I'm going to see if I can share it again here. But that, like, every meeting has to have a clear set of people who are attending, and they know why they're attending and what role they play there, a purpose, why we're meeting and what we're here for, a product, like what is the outcome of this meeting, and a process. And the process is typically the agenda. And if you don't have those things, then you probably shouldn't be meeting. Or there's probably like more work to do up front to prep for the meeting, etc. So that was one of the things I had talked about. And then Coach Sherry already used it, and I love that. And if I can find the card, I will share it with you, Marlene. But Mercury retrograde is not my friend right now. So as I try to search for it, oh, here we go. I'm like, I'm getting everything but what I was trying to share with you. Okay. Yeah, but here we go. That's then the link that I ultimately shared that can get you started with the basics of what I was talking about. Yes. Now, the other thing too is I feel like, like the other example that you talked about a meeting in which you didn't have part of the audience, or, you didn't feel like you had the full audience that you needed. As far as prep, when I'm doing it with like multiple parties and we both have specific outcomes that we need from the meeting, I also make sure like we're aligned on that too before the group meeting, if that makes sense. Like if Marlene and I were working on a project together for our 2 separate entities, for our, let's say, our 2 channels, right? We're working on a channel for a project for Slasher Chick TV and Life with Marlene. And even if it's going to be a collaboration, if we're going to meet with like third parties that are going to help us with it, then she and I need to be aligned on those 4 Ps before we're all getting in the same room. Oh my gosh, love that. Now that, Coach Sherry, is one thing, how you named it, and that you delegated the pieces they will share tomorrow. That's one of my gaps that I want to continue to get better at, is knowing when to delegate. I think that's the place where what's the word I'm looking for? It would just, it would serve my leadership well to be better at delegation. There we go. That's the phrase I'm looking for. So that was on my mind today about, I'm in Mercury retrograde again. Let me go back and look and see what was going on there. And and I guess hearing Coach Sherry that like, that was helpful to me and you've already used it is also further confirmation of like, all right, I got to stick to this YouTube thing. I have some valuable content that I could add to the conversation. Now, Dawn, if you feel like you are good at delegating at work, yes, certainly share your tips, because it is empowering for the recipient. And for me, it's important for my team to be in the forefront at times and build their confidence. I totally agree with that, because that's one thing I I firmly believe. And so again, this will make me being a better delegator will make me a better leader, because I think the um the proof of how good of a leader you are is how many other leaders do you build. Like I think good leaders coach other leaders to become leaders. Like, right? Like anyone that I've ever coached or mentored or has reported to me, my goal is that you surpass anything I've achieved. That's because I'm only there to help bring out the best in you. So no, I can't believe that you shared that already, but I love that you shared that already. And that is a good point, Dawn. I don't like to be stressed. um, so that is helpful with that. All right, on Marlene's name and one of her superpower, I'm very good at boosting the morale of a team. Now that we already know you are, Marlene, because there's no it's no accident that your Marlene motivates. Like that is no accident for sure. And even when I watch your content about topics that I feel like, yeah, I talk about that all the time, I still get new perspectives, new nuggets, or oftentimes like the motivational moments will like pop up right at a time where I was like about to cuss somebody out and I needed that reminder. I'm just playing. I don't I don't cuss people out. My mom would be mad. Um but like where I there here's how I'll phrase it. It'll come right at a time where I need perspective. How about that? I need perspective. Um, but yeah, that's whatever I can delegate, the better. Finding people's strengths, and let me just be clear. I don't think I'm horrible at it. I think this is about when I speak about this as an opportunity for growth too. It's like I'm trying to grow specifically in the places where I know when I'm stressed, I'll default to something that doesn't serve my highest and best use, right? Like so. Um, And so it's like, what tools do I put in place for myself to remind me, hey, this might have served you before and gotten you to here, but it won't get you to the next level? Like, because there's a phrase they use in AA, but a lot of the things they use in AA is still good stuff for life. But they'll say, your best thinking got you here, which isn't always a bad thing. But your best thinking got you here. It may not get you there, So I totally believe that too, Dawn. Finding out people's strengths and maybe things they want to develop. I love finding out the things that people want to develop, but they're still afraid to, and kind of like finding opportunities for them to do that. Um, yes. Now, one thing though, Coach Sherry, I feel like I've gotten pretty good at the professional reminders. Um, Now, I'm with you on that too, Marlene. I don't like laziness. However, what I will say is one of the things I feel like has been helpful is always starting with curiosity, right? Where someone may have behaved in a way or done a thing that I am perceiving this as lazy. I want to check my assumption, but without assuming. So first, I'm going to try like what's going on here. I'm gonna first try to diagnose like what's happening here. But I appreciate all what the delegating does for you up. Marlene is surprised that Coach Sherry can ever be brought to that point. And allows you to be more creative, yeah, because you're not boggled, yeah, it's boggled down knowing it, but you're not burdened by, all of those things. Um Yes. Now, I could also see those particularly being industries in which you have to just generally be more aggressive than maybe you would in some others because of just the nature of the like majority of the industry. Um, See, and that's what, yeah. But some people might legitimately, need the hand holding because there's a couple of things that, like, particularly when I have managers that they're having a problem with, like, there's a couple of things we need to test, right? It could be laziness, right? It could be poor training. Like, they may not actually know how to do the thing that's being asked. So, one thing you want to do is like retrain, um, and make sure it's that. Your directions could have not been clear. You need to like reframe, make sure it's not that. And sometimes I guess my other is like relationships. Sometimes it's just not a good match with those two people. And then it's like, well, let me test if there's another match if that garners the same results. And now if I know I've tried retrain, reframe, and relationship in the problem, oh, it's the person. You just lazy. One thing I definitely agree with that, Coach Harry. People move and work different since COVID. I think also since COVID, people have just I, I think people are more intentional about how they spend their time post COVID. That's my, and well, I'll say I know that's been true for me, and that I think I've, and the thing that was always funny to me about COVID is like, everybody's like, oh my God, everything's so uncertain. And I'm like, y'all, everything was still uncertain the day before COVID happened. Like this has always been that anything could happen at any time, that none of this is promised, that it's all going to change. Like that has always been the case. But I think because in our lifetime, it's like the first time we've really seen maybe things shut down the way they did, like our economy like go to like a halt for even 24 hours, or at least what it felt like, right? Like that was very much different than anything a lot of us have ever experienced, that made people, I think, just reevaluate how they live in. So, but I don't know, what are your thoughts on how you think people move and work differently, Coach Harry? Now that, yes, I'm with you on that, Marlene, because I definitely make sure people know, like, the only stupid question is the one that's unasked. I would much rather you ask a question that you think is, oh, this might be a dumb or silly question, than to not and do the wrong thing and waste time, money, and effort. So, and that's why one of my favorite questions to ask at like the close of something like that too is like, is there anything that we didn't discuss that you hoped we would or thought we might? And a lot of times that will get people to share something that they were withholding. And so that's my little nugget of additional questions to add to our repertoire as we try to diagnose, collaborate, and make it through Mercury retrograde. I'm trying to tie this all back into where I started. But at the end of today, we will have survived Mercury retrograde. I will have survived 3 full consecutive weeks of going live. And that's all I got. But I am pleased that I can check off another day for today. Thank you, Marlene. And exactly, Coach Sherry, we made it through. So I thank y'all for being here. As always, I appreciate the riveting conversation. And if I didn't catch any content that you put up today, I'm going to probably check it out as I get ready for bed. And I hope to talk to you all again tomorrow. Have a good night.